All right, welcome back. Now, before I get started, I want to point out that there are some Americans who find my platform and they're a little surprised at how diverse my listeners are. But you got to remember, several religions, Judaism, Islam, several religions speak against dogs. Uh, in Islam, you're not even allowed to touch dogs. And if you do, you're supposed to wash your hands like multiple times before you can eat or touch anything else, other people. In Judaism, from what I understand, is very similar. And what it is, a lot of those religions abide by older customs. And when it comes to humanity, people, I am sorry. I trust the old world. I don't trust the new world for nothing in the world. I don't trust no religion that was created during the mid-teens, 1400s, 1500s, 16. No, thank you. That's around that new world era, especially after the Enlightenment era. You can forget about it. So shout out to all the people from around the world. And seriously, I probably attract more diverse crowd than anybody else. Y'all already know a lot of people who comment are from like Turkey, Ukraine, Russia, and etc. But I want to talk about something today, people. And also, y'all see what time it is? Right now, it's 9:34 p.m. my time. Y'all know I'm not supposed to be online at this time on a Friday. So you already know what's going on. We got a little time away from work. I'm also off Monday. So dog lovers, strap in. I want to talk about something. It's called the duck test. How many of you heard of the duck test? I'm sure most of you familiar with the duck test. Here it is right here. The duck test. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, then it is probably a duck. And the duck test suggests that something can be identified by its habitual characteristics. So, based on the duck test, dogs are parasites through and through. And we're going to get a little deeper into it on this video. And let me tell you something. It would not be possible to get deeper into it, to have more evidence to confirm this. That would not be possible if it were not true. If it were not true and the duck test didn't apply, we would fail to find so many connections and similarities. So, let's get right into it. And let's go to the first timestamp on this video. You can find this video online. For your convenience, I'll leave a link in the description after this is all over. But this video was uploaded to YouTube a year ago. And it's a documentary. You see the title of it. The Dirty Tricks of Parasitic Birds. The Dirty Tricks of Parasitic Birds. I was about to make a thumbnail showing the bird next to a dog, saying that this can be a parasite, then the dog can be a parasite. If a whole entire organism identical to a bird can be an official parasite, then so can dogs 100%, and that's what they are.
is on the horizon. The reed warblers have been breeding for 12 days, and now the first chick is stirring. Even the mother seems surprised. She has no way of knowing it's someone else's egg.
So, the parasitic egg hatched first.
And much less what it's going to bring about. It's not for nothing that the little cuckoo hatched first, 2 days ahead of the others. But first, it's just helpless and hungry. The foster parents have to deliver. Their new chick is still naked and blind, but it knows what it wants. Fresh, live insects. The next
Now let's stop. Science calls this a parasitic relationship, calls the bird a parasite, and calls this whole relationship a parasitic relationship. That's identical to dogs. Humans, flat out, providing resources to offspring other than its biological offspring. Taking care of some other organism's offspring. That's a parasitic relationship. Based on the duck test, that's a parasite.
The next portion awaits already. Alone or together, the parents stuff everything into their offspring. Grasshoppers, flies, dragonflies, beetles. After all, they want their chick to grow and get strong quickly. And it does just that, in excess. It starts tampering with the other eggs with full force.
Look at this.
It is imperative to throw the competition out of the nest, even before it has hatched. A short break. Then the jostling is so strong that no more incubating is possible. The little cuckoo is taking command of the eggs. Failed, but it tries again right away. And another time, right under the clueless mother's nose.
That parasitic bird, which is blind, by the way, blind, pushed out 2 eggs by instinct. It was instinct. Based on the fact that this is not your biological offspring. In nature, they're going to automatically feel resentment toward your biological offspring. I think we should all accept that. And we should expect any organism to function just like this if it's not our biological offspring.
A brazen move. Simply throwing the step siblings over the side.
See that? Now, if nature programs these foreign organisms to behave like this, why wouldn't dogs at least become programmed identically over time? Why wouldn't they? There's no reason why they wouldn't.
Too fewer mouths to compete for its food.
Now,
the reed warblers don't see through what's happening here. Their only concern is the noisy, imploring chick. It weighs just about 3 grams, and it's hard to conceive that it has the strength to dispose of the last egg as well. Right over the edge of the nest. It doesn't have the ability to grip anything, and it's blind too. So how is this possible? The chick has a sensitive spot on its back, and anything it feels there, it will push out.
Now you see that? Did you hear that? Which means what, people? That does that tell you? That tells you that if it's not your biological offspring, nature will program it to act against your offspring, to treat your offspring like its enemy, and to try to get rid of your offspring. Nature will program an organism to do that if it's not your biological offspring. That's why if the birds find out that it's not their own egg, they toss it out. So, dog lovers' attachment to dogs is on a much deeper level than we thought. They're not only emotionally attached to them, not only chemically, they carry the dog's parasites in their own body, but they have a parasitic relationship to them. Which, if in my opinion, I personally believe this, their genetic imprinting or whatever, the way they get dog lovers to promote their existence on this earth, we'll get deeper into that because that's referred to as parasitic behavior. I don't know how many of y'all looked that up. Parasitic behavior in biology refers to the way parasites influence the behavior of their host to facilitate their own reproduction or survival. Think dog hoarders. We'll come back to that.
It's an innate program. That little cuckoo, it seems, is not that friendly. But an
innate program. So in other words, dog lovers, nature wants your dogs to attack your kids. Nature ain't always pretty. Nature wants dogs to attack your kids. Y'all playing with nature at this point. Sitting there scratching your head, wondering why the dog hates your kids. And we're going to get into some confessions, a lot of disturbing confessions by dog lovers. And I'm talking about hundreds of confessions from dog lovers talking about how their dog hates kids.
And in the darkness of their breeding burrow, they didn't notice the fifth egg. It's a normal breeding routine. Warm the eggs, turn the eggs. It's a question of patience. But finally, the time has come. The first chick fights to free itself from the shell. Again, it's a few days ahead of schedule. It's the honey guide's chick. But for such a small chick, it has a sharp hooked beak, similar only to one like a bird of prey. This does not bode well. But so far, it's all going as planned. Parental duties around the clock, and a few days later, the next chick is born. Weak, blind, and no hooked beak. Instinctively, it seeks the protection of its siblings.
Now, the first one had a hook on its beak because that's the parasitic bird. The second one did not have hooks on its beak because that's the biological offspring of the mother. The parasitic bird has a hook on its beak. It's there to kill the bird's biological offspring. Nature did that. So why wouldn't nature eventually want dogs to off your biological offspring as well? Why would y'all tampering with nature? In my opinion, this is my theory.
Instinctively, it seeks the protection of its siblings. A fatal error. The honey guide chick attacks indiscriminately until the baby bee eater, disturbingly to watch, succumbs to its injuries. And the parents? They continue going about their business as if nothing has happened. They seem oblivious of the murderous act. Not even over the following few days, when they gradually lose all the other chicks.
How crazy is that? The biological offspring, even if they all get wiped out, the parent birds just go on about their business as if nothing happens. So what is that? A decreased value for your natural biological offspring. Exactly what we see in dog culture. The duck test applies.
Until the honey guide has the sole monopoly on the food supply.
That's right. Just like so many couples have no biological kids, but they got dogs.
Cuckoo achieves with its egg throwing what the honey guide achieves with its hooked beak. But 2 weeks later, the honey guide's beak is gone, along with its aggression. When it leaves the dark cave, it also sheds its dark side and turns into the lovable honey guide, which will at some point be looking to contact humans in order to guide them to the honey.
Now let's move to the next timestamp. 34 minutes, 37 seconds.
End. Rays of sun, a momentous day begins. The two little bee-eater chicks have grown. Their food delivery has worked out pretty well, and they quickly dash back out to get replenishments. This time, even in reverse. All in all, the young birds seem to have turned a corner. If it weren't for this one egg, which is apparently neither empty nor dead. Another chick is making itself known. It can't actually be a killer chick. It would have hatched before the others. But as we said, honey guides make mistakes too. This egg was laid far too late. It is a killer chick.
Did you see that? So what happened? The parasitic bird planted its egg too late. So the bird's biological eggs hatched first. And the parasitic bird, the killer bird, hatched later.
The hooked beak leaves no room for doubt. As soon as it's born, it starts. It tears into its step siblings. It's an instinctive act. But here, the victims are older and bigger. They try to shake off the killer chick. They drag it through the whole burrow. The parents suspect nothing.
How about that? That parasitic bird is too small to unalive the biological offspring of the parent bird. So its attacks fail.
They don't see what their youngest is up to. That biting is more important than cries for food.
So the parasitic bird attacking the other chicks right in front of the mother. And the mother's still trying to offer food.
And even when it's calling out, it's so clumsy that the other ones get all the morsels. The little honey guide is falling further and further behind. Its star is waning. It can barely stand on its legs. The others are towering over it. Only occasionally it brings itself to launch a feeble attack, but to no avail.
Look at that. This parasitic bird is so weak and malnutritioned because the bigger birds are getting all the food that it can hardly stand. And yet, in this weakened state, it still tries to launch attacks against the other chicks. And you can see they're almost developed feathers at this point. It's still trying to, and that's all instinct. This thing is still blind. This is what nature wants to happen. Nature wants this to happen when it's not your biological offspring. And y'all welcome this into your home. Y'all welcome this relationship paired up with dogs the way that you are.
On the contrary, the chick initially attacked seems to come to its senses and turns the tables. The little honey guide doesn't stand a chance. The revenge of the little bee-eaters is no less brutal than that inflicted upon them. Now it's they who turn the breeding burrow into a burrow of horror.
How about that? The biological chicks come to their senses and realize this is an enemy. This is not our brother. This is not our sister. This is a foreigner. And it's instinct for them to then launch an attack against that foreign parasitic bird. Which tells me that the dogs have no place inside of our homes based on nature. Nature's rules, nature's standards. They have no business inside of our homes being taken care of as if they are our biological offspring. Now, some people, for whatever reason, they get a kick out of going against nature and being backwards. But I think this is dangerous. After all, look at the results. Massive or widespread illnesses, as well as countless mutilations and people being unalived. Now, when you add on top of that the dog's natural instincts that it has already, it's obvious y'all playing a serious game of Russian roulette. Dogs' instincts to attack small animals is what I searched. As you all can see, a strong prey drive that can lead them to chase, attack, or even kill small animals. This instinct, while natural, can pose a problem when it's directed towards children. This is an admission that these dogs are not being provoked. Through and through. I'm telling you, all you dog trainers, you better, for as long as you can, act like we don't exist. Because y'all are no competition. Y'all better get out of this so-called profession. Please find something else to do. You already have the gift of gab. You're already people. You can easily get into something else. This is a failed profession because all of your so-called facts are false. Natural instinct. They have a drive to hunt, catch prey, which is remnant of their wild ancestry. We all know that. Now, you heard Sheepy talk about extended phenotype. If y'all haven't watched or listened to that video, y'all need to listen to that video, because I did not have time to look up exactly where she got that information. I think she got it off Reddit. Look up the Reddit post also. Yeah, look that up and go over that. She talked about extended phenotype in parasites. Theory applied to parasites describes how a parasite's genes can influence the behavior and even the body plan of its host, ultimately benefiting the parasite's own reproductive success. In other words, when there's a foreign organism like dogs amongst, humans, nature is going to see to it that the dog, its extended phenotype, that it influences humans to ensure their survival on Earth. And what do those humans go out and do? Promote dogs nonstop. Try to tell people they need dogs. Force dogs into schools, hospitals, and whatnot. On the younger generation at that, trying to program them. This is extreme promotion. That's that extreme promotion of dogs. That's why we can all argue that dogs are parasites and not cats, not rabbits. They don't have that parasitic relationship because those animals are not being promoted the way dogs are. It's not even close. The duck test applies. Extended phenotype is present in the parasitic relationship between dogs and humans. That's my theory. That's our theory. That's a theory I co-sign with. Because this is crazy. If you ask me, this is insane. This occurs because parasite genes can have phototypic expression in host organisms, leading to changes in behaviors or morphology that makes the host more susceptible to transmission of the parasite. So to increase the chances that someone else owns a dog. Transmission of the parasite. What's the best or the closest representative of that? That the parasite gets transmitted to another human. That's the person who's never owned a dog becoming a dog owner for the first time or whatever. Whether or not that happens, I think, is irrelevant. The point is, the promotion is always there and it's always extreme. The promotion of dogs. And this is actually kind of crazy how parasites operate. The Toxoplasma gondii, as we all know, infects rodents, making them less fearful of cats, and which increases the likelihood that they'll be eaten by cats. The nematomorphs or morphs or whatever this is, it induces mantids to be attracted to, look at this, to horizontally polarized light, which can lead them to jump into water where the parasite can complete its life cycle. So they get infected with this parasite, which makes them attracted to horizontally polarized light. And before they die or whenever they die, they make sure to jump in the water. What? What? That's the crazy thing. The way these parasites function is wild. It's out of this world, spaced out. And that's what we see in dog culture, a bunch of wild, spaced out behavior. They jumping on alligators, diving in water, jumping off bridges to save a worthless mutt worth about $5. A lot of times they're just giving these dogs away. Certain ant parasites can manipulate the behavior of their host ant colonies, causing them to care for the parasite's offspring instead of their own. Again, we see that with human beings. We see it with human beings. People with dogs and people with kids and people without kids do this. People without kids do it by acquiring a dog rather than having their own biological kids. People with kids do it by wasting resources on that worthless mutt that could be going to their young, which could prove detrimental. That could backfire someday. You might reach a point where you should have some type of savings or something for your child, but because you wasted it on a worthless mutt, now you don't have it. Now, like I said before, parasitic behavior refers to the way parasites influence the behavior of their hosts to facilitate their own reproduction or survival. So it's natural for humans to eventually do things that ensures the dog's survival and reproduction. So the duck test says, do the people do that or not? If I want to know if this is a parasite, I want you to tell me whether or not the humans are doing things to ensure the survival of dogs. The answer is yes. They're doing a whole lot of things. Mass breeding them, mass producing them, artificially producing them. Remember, some of these dogs don't even have the ability to copulate naturally. Those pugs and whatnot, French bulldogs, those severely mutated mutts, they can't copulate. They can't mate with other dogs. They have to be artificially inseminated. You can't bend over backwards more to ensure the survival and reproduction of a species or organism. These are parasites. People, let me tell you something. We have made scientific breakthroughs. We're just not being acknowledged for it. Whoever acknowledged this first needs to be acknowledged for it. I don't know who it was. Somebody on Reddit. From what I understand, it was somebody on Reddit who made this argument first. They need to be acknowledged. It's almost criminal how they're not being acknowledged just because they're not an official scientist. But once you get into this, and any of you could do this, where anything you find, any and almost everything you find, you can find parallels. You can find similarities. Yeah, it's criminal for these people to be ignored. Now look at this. If y'all ever do a search into this, always be sure to expand it. Some parasites modify the host genes to alter their behavior and physiology, the way you look, the way you smell, the way you behave. Don't you see these people trying to behave like dogs? You heard the idea that you need to become more like a dog rather than to expect the dog to be more human-like. How do we know that that's not the result of a parasitic relationship? Parasites can secrete chemicals that affect the host's nervous system, altering their behavior. What? How do we know dogs are not secreting these chemicals? To dog lovers, we scratch our head at some of the behavior of these dog lovers, don't we? How do we know it's not the result of a parasitic relationship? We may as well assume it. The duck test says this is a parasite. Right? Flat out. This parasite found in cats is linked to behavioral changes in humans, including increased risk-taking and rage disorders. What? You mean parasites can make the host more aggressive? Haven't we noticed this pattern where the owners of bully breeds are almost always violent people themselves? Haven't we noticed this pattern? Violent or very unstable. One or the other. If they're not extremely violent and aggressive, they're emotionally unstable dog moms, willing to risk their life. The same outcome, if you ask me. Some worms induce crickets to jump into water where the worm can escape and reproduce. Man, I would not play with parasites. That's just the bottom line. If I were you, as a human, I'd stay as far away from parasites as possible. I believe part of us being human is having the ability to be parasite free if we live the proper life. But dog culture stops that, prevents that. Parasitic wasps can make their ladybug hosts defend or nurture them. What? Huh? That is insane. Now look at this. Y'all see I haven't clicked any of them. When you click these links, they turn purple. Right now they're all still blue unless I'm a little colorblind. I heard men go colorblind. I might be. My dog hates children. I have no idea how to get it under control. My dog hates toddlers. Has anyone's dog hated kids? Why does my dog hate kids and puppies? Dog doesn't like my toddler. My dog hates kids. My dog hates kids. Dog doesn't like our baby. My dog hates kids. Dog hates my baby. You better believe. And these are all pro-dog groups. Dog advice, dog training. These are all pro-dog groups. So these are flat out confessions. I would guess these are confessions in the hundreds. Now let me show y'all this one. My dog doesn't like babies and I'm pregnant. Dog hates my stepkids. Dog hates male children. Dog hates kids, but only sometimes. Dog hates my nephew. One of them said my dog hates kids but loves everything else. My dog hates children, all caps. My dog hates kids. This is clearly a pattern. And it's the duck test. It passes the duck test. Your dog is supposed to hate your kids. It's a foreign organism that's in the position of another child. As if it's another one of your offspring. And it's not. It's a foreigner. That's why some of these dog trainers offer classes to try to train this desire to attack the kids out of the dogs. This is ridiculous. I don't see how they could tolerate this. Check this out. This is the one that I pulled up. It was highlighted. If you do a search of the same phrase, this should be the very first link at the top. The title is, "My dog keeps killing small wildlife in our yard." Understand, people? Your young are seen the same way small wildlife is seen by dogs. This person here said it's normal for dogs to chase small animals and kill them. It's not a behavioral problem. And what? You cannot train it out of them. Say it again. For the people in the back. You cannot train it out of them. So, what are these trainers doing, offering these classes to train this desire to attack young kids out of dogs? They're just milking you. Give me that money. Just give me that money. You can't train this instinct out of them, but let's make the dog owners believe that we are. let's do some things that'll modify the dog's behavior, at least temporarily, maybe. And let's keep getting that money. You can't train it out of them. That's why you hear these dogs who've been around the same kids for its whole life and one day attacks them. Huh? True or not? True or not? So you got instincts on top of a parasitic relationship. A two-way aggression towards who? Kids. So this parasite theory, the result of it, what does it mean? You know what I mean? Like, what does it mean for us? You always got to ask that question, if I'm not mistaken. It's been years since I've been in school. Remember, I'm 48 years old. But I believe in like studies like this, when you do papers and stuff, you got to conclude, what does this mean for us as a group, as a species? Dogs being parasites, what does it mean? More than anything, it means increased aggression towards your young. Because it's not just instinct that drives these things to attack them. It's also the strong possibility that they are parasites. This is a parasitic relationship that's irrefutable. If you ask me, they are parasites. Shout out to all of you able to join me for this live stream. And I hope you can join me on the next as we continue with this crusade.